Hi, and welcome to Extraordinary Moments with Anita. So,
Thank you for having me.
you're welcome. Can you please tell us your name and what you do?
Yep. My name is Gwenda Simon, and I'm the founder and CEO of Novel Bloom, an in-home recovery support company in Hamilton, Ontario.
So good to have you here. I had bits and pieces of your story, and I said, you know what? Let me have this lady here to tell us her full story. So I'm excited to hear it, to hear the full story and see what God has done. So please take it up and tell us.
My story start. I have a lot of stories. I'm not even sure where to start.
Start somewhere.
But I've been in a relationship for about 10 years, almost 10 years. And during that relationship, we were on and off where I would break up and then he would come back, and then I would break up and he would come back. And it just got to the point where I felt like I was being pushed to break up with this person, not because they were a bad person, more on I need to stop this relationship because it's not going anywhere, or it's not aligned with God. And at the time, I didn't have a relationship with God, but I know who God was. And maybe 2 years before I actually broke up with the person, I was like, I need to break up with this person because God has a very interesting sense of humor. And if I keep going, it's going to mess me up. Um, but eventually, I broke up with him. Less than 3 months later, I bumped into someone else. And basically, long story short, he started talking about the Bible in ways that it didn't make sense. I didn't know the Bible fully to say I know scriptures and I can quote scriptures, but I know enough about the Bible that when someone says something, I'm like, that doesn't really sound right. So after dating him for about 2, 3 months, I was pushed to buy a Bible. I was like, I don't like to be in spaces where, people are talking about something and I don't know what you're talking about. So I went and bought a Bible. This specific person was saying that he's a believer of God, and he's saying stuff like, God gives us power and he gives us authority, which it is true. But he was speaking more on the sense of he is a God, which didn't sit right with me.
He is a God.
Yeah. So
Okay.
he says that God made us in his image, and because God is God, we are also gods. Which again, back then, I was very much into spirituality. I was very much into, the universe you command the universe type of thing. I wasn't really into crystals, but I was with the angel numbers and all these other things. So I understood some parts of the power that comes with God, but not attached to God, if that makes sense. Um, but after a while, it just wasn't sitting well with me. But I still pushed on because I liked the person. I'm somebody that's extremely tall. I'm 6'5", if you haven't noticed. um, and he was also very tall. So because the last person I was with was pretty short, not that I had an issue with his height, but it was different to finally be with somebody who was tall. So I continued the relationship. It was a very sexual relationship. The way that we met was very physical. He saw me, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful, you're tall, and it wasn't even a few dates before we started having sex. So it was a very sexually charged relationship, and I was already very sexually charged because of events that took place in my childhood. Very stimulated from a young age. But, anyways, the relationship just felt everything aligned at the beginning. Um, and after a while, things started to not align anymore. We started to bicker and argue, and I don't argue. I don't like to have conflict. I like to find a resolution for the conflict. But we just kept arguing all the time, and eventually, we spent a day together. Again, very sexual day, and it ended with one of my friends, who was my ex. We were supposed to go. I was supposed to help him get a dog. The day the dog was ready to be picked up was the day that I spent with my partner at the time. And I left the day, like left him. We finished our day, we went back home, and instead of going home, I went to go help my ex get this dog. Because initially, the dog was supposed to, like, he reached out to the person and was like, oh, I want this dog. The person would respond to them. So then he was like, hey, can you try? Because they already know my account. So I reached out. She responded to me and she was like, "Oh, it sounds like you're looking for this type of dog. We have two." So then me and my ex at the time, because we're friends, we went to pick up the dog. He was really sweet. He was just a sweetheart. His name's Max. But we got that dog. The next morning I woke up. My partner at the time was upset at the fact that I didn't message him in time because I said I was going to go home. And when I messaged him, it was like 3 hours later because I went for the dog. So he was like, "What happened? I thought you were going to get home." But, anyways, I was like, "Nope, I had to go help my friend with the dog." We broke up because of this dog. Like, the dog ended our relationship. He felt offended that I was still friends with my ex, even though I disclosed that at the beginning of the relationship. But anyways, I was like, you know what, whatever. Continued on. I was hurt at first. I was trying to mend it, and it just wasn't working. He wasn't giving me a time of day. He was ignoring my calls. And then he started saying hurtful words, and I'm not the type to speak ill on people. So when he started that, I was like, I'm not doing that with you. So I was just like, I'm not trying. We're done. And I walked away. And then me and my ex started becoming, we were friends, but we started to become even more closer in a sense, where we started to share different things that we didn't share in our relationship. But I ended up sleeping with him and I got pregnant. So that's how that happened.
Now, I want to ask you what happened in your childhood. I feel like there's something there.
Yeah. In regards to like the sexual trauma, emotional
Yeah, everything.
trauma.
Yeah, sexual trauma, whatever. Yeah.
So when I was probably around 6 years old, I remember that I remember him as my uncle, but now everyone's kind of like he was a close friend of my aunt. But he basically molested me when I was really young. He was stimulating me constantly sexually, and then there was a point where he tried to have sex with me, but I was too small, so he couldn't. But he was grooming me for about 3 years, and my family didn't know.
3 years.
Yeah, and my family didn't know, and I was a young kid, and I loved my candy, and I remember that he used to do everything with, "Oh, here's some money to go buy some candy later." And I basically kept that for a majority of my life, and it was only up until I was maybe 14 I actually told somebody about it. But yeah, after that, I've noticed that I've always been very sexually charged. It was almost like he's been doing it so often that over time, my body started to crave it. Even when I didn't want it, my body was craving it. I remember even when I went back home, I was already masturbating at the age of 8, 9. So we came up here when I was 8. So my dad separated us, which was good. And then we had to go back home. And when I was back home, I was probably 10. I went from
When I said back home?
back in St. Vincent.
Okay.
So we came up when I was 8. We spent 2 years and then we went back down. So I was around 10 and I was still very sexually charged. I was masturbating like, yeah. And it just kind of started to trickle down, not even trickle, it started to break down after I hit about 12. We came back here, even though I was very sexually charged, I
Back to
wasn't,
Canada.
yeah. I wasn't very interested in giving myself to somebody. I was just kind of like, I'll just keep charging, I'll stay over here. And then I met somebody, I don't even remember his name. I don't even know how we met. But I was really young. I was probably 14, 15 when I first actually had sex with somebody. And he was older than I was. He was probably like 17, 18. But my entire life from the time I was probably like 12 to 20 actually was very sexually charged. And I started to crave the validation from these men. And I started to realize that with sex comes power. And when you have the ability to say no to somebody and it affects them, I started to like that. And when I say yes, it's like, oh, it's on my terms. It's no longer on anyone else's terms. So I had about 2 years of very promiscuous activities. And when I was 20, maybe 19, 20, my mom left Scarborough and came to Hamilton to be with her ex-husband now, but boyfriend at the time. And she left me and my sister in Scarborough. So she lived with us, and she left and she moved in with her partner. And we're 15, maybe 16, maybe
Just
17.
two of you in the house?
Yeah.
So how did you take care of yourself?
My sister took care of me.
Okay.
And
Was she working or
no,
so how
so
did you guys feed and
at that time, actually, I got really sick, like
Mhm.
really sick. Um, I recently got back from the States, so in 2020, no, 10, in 2010, I got a scholarship to go to the States to play basketball. Um, I was a very active person in high school just because of basketball, but I ended up getting a scholarship. I went to Virginia, played for a year, and then realized that I was doing this for other people. Everybody was like, "Oh, you're so tall, you should play basketball. You're so tall, you'll be good at basketball." And I realized how much work and dedication it actually took. And I was like, I don't want to put this much effort into it. So I started to make up excuses. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to go, this hurts and that hurts. And then it got to a point where I think I even lied about having a kidney stone just so I didn't have to play anymore. And then I ended up slipping my disc in my spine. And it was just like a bulge and it started to hurt. I was weightlifting and I was doing a lot of very intense drills and stuff. And I came back during a visit and they were like, oh, yeah, you slipped your disc. So they would either recommend that I stop playing or I do like intense rehab. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I went back to the States and I just used that as a quick
As an excuse.
scapegoat to be like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I have an excuse. Like it was a really good experience to be around other tall people because the school was for basketball. So the men team was they were tall. There were a lot of them who were taller than me. Um, but I also was over there and I felt so out of my element, even though I was not the tallest person, just because I just felt like I was a guy. I felt like I was the tallest girl. I was not attractive to anybody. I felt like I was the ugly duckling in a lot of situations. I didn't feel very feminine and I couldn't find shoes to wear. Like it was just a whole thing and it really affected the way that I looked at myself. I sweat a lot. So in school, I felt like I was teased very heavily for that because I'm tall, but I'm also sweaty and I smell and all these things. So, um, but yeah, when I came back, I started losing a lot of weight because I wasn't playing as much sports. I wasn't as active as I used to be. Um, and I lost at least 50 pounds within a month and a half. And like you can see my collarbone and everyone's looking at me like, what's going on? So eventually we went and got some tests done and they found that I was diabetic. Around that time was when my mom left and came to Hamilton. So it was just my sister.
Did your mom know you had diabetes?
She found out after she left.
Okay, after she left.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
how did you? I'm just wondering how you.
we just figured it out. I think at some point I had to go on Ontario Works just so I can get some money coming, and it wasn't enough to pay rent. And then my sister had to start working at McDonald's. So the money that we had was able to pay rent for a very short period of time, and then we couldn't pay rent anymore. So then we were like, okay, we have to find somewhere to go because we can't live in a house that we can't pay for. Um, so then eventually we had to give up the apartment. Our aunt lived in the building, so we're like, oh, we can just stay with her. But sometimes families separated, and we're all in different spaces. So we were there, we stayed for a couple of days, and then it just kind of felt like we were being a burden. So we're like, yeah, let's just find somewhere else to go. I was talking to somebody, and it's funny because he was my shortest relationship, and I remember the exact amount of days that we were together was 13 days. And he wasn't for me, but those 13 days gave me a house to stay in. So I stayed with him. And I was doing summer school at the time. So after that, I was like, we're not doing this anymore. I'm not going to pretend to like you because I just want somewhere to stay. Then I ended up moving in with a friend. She started getting a little bit different. Once I lived with her, I was diabetic, so I had to buy my own food and stuff. I couldn't, she was African as well, so I can't eat a lot of the African food, fufu and all that. And then we just kind of separated, or it wasn't working out at the time. So I ended up leaving that, and then our next option was our dad's, and our relationship with our dads isn't necessarily the best. But now we're realizing it's an authority issue. We had issues with him wanting to run everything how he wants it when he wants it, but we stayed probably about a month, if that. And eventually my mom was like, okay, you guys got to come up to Hamilton because I don't like you bouncing up and going into different places. Mind you, I've never worked. I was probably 18 at the time. And yeah, I moved to Hamilton. Um, Finally got a job at a factory. I was like, I can use my hands. I can use my hands. I got nice hands. I can go use them. I know how to do stuff with my hands. I lasted 2 weeks there. My
Wow.
feet was killing me. It was at an automotive company, so you had to basically get all the parts and file them down so that they're ready to be assembled. And they put me at the hardest spot for some reason. And there was some guys that was like, I don't understand why they put you here. They normally put the guys here because you literally have a metal file in your hand and you're filing down these parts to make sure that they're smooth and they can't have any bumps on them.
But you the only girl or lady?
I was the only girl that they had at that specific area.
Why did they put you there?
I don't know. Even the guys there, they're just like, I don't know. They normally put the girls in the areas you just put something on an assembly line, it goes into a machine, you press a button and it goes. They put me there. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I like a challenge. And then after that, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I went home crying. My feet was hurting. I was getting up really early in the morning. I'm not a morning person. But getting up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning just to go to work, stay there for 12 hours and come back and do the same thing again. It got too much and I was like, I can't do this. And then I left that and went to call center. I've always said that I want to be on the other line when you call like a customer service thing. But that was for elections. So they had you calling people, oh, you're going to vote, da, 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 da. And I was like, I don't like doing this. Like, I don't even want to vote myself. But then I ended up getting into a call center for, I believe it was for one of the home restoration services or something like that, like Enercare Reliance or one of those. And that's where I met my ex.
Okay.
So the one I was with for a while. And he basically, he didn't even want me at the beginning because he thought I didn't see him that way. Because again, he's a shorter guy. I'm a taller woman. And in the training, it just kind of worked because I'm very quick on things. So as they're teaching us, I'm like, oh, this is what works and this and this and this and this. And I basically were training people in the training because
wow.
I learned really quickly.
That was how good you were.
Yeah. And they were just like, you're picking up these stuff really quick. And I'm like, yes, I know. Thank you. And they paired us together for something. They're like, oh, I need you and two other people to be in a group. And that's where we started talking. At the time, I had a friends with benefits, and that's how the conversation came up, where I was telling him what I did that weekend. And he just saw me as a friend. And then there was another guy who was our supervisors. I had a crush on him, but he wasn't interested in me. So it wasn't that I went to the other one, my ex, at default. I liked both of them. And I have a thing for scents.
Everything for what?
It's for scents, like for nice smelling stuff. That's why I got pulled to him, because he always smelled nice. Always smelled nice.
Was it some guy you got pregnant
for? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, tell me about the pregnancy.
So we broke up, and then I got pregnant, and I was like, okay, well, I don't want to have a child outside of wedlock, but I have no choice at this point. So the most that I can do is to try to fix whatever issues we're having. And like he was trying, he wanted to speak more, he wanted to express himself more. He wanted to care for me more. A lot of the times I felt like our relationship was very sexual, where we will talk all day, but then when we're chilling, it's just in the bedroom, we're just having sex or watching a movie. It didn't really feel like a full relationship before we broke up. But then after we broke up, when I found out I was pregnant, I was worried that it was for the other guy that I was with, because I was with him, and then it was like a 2 or 3 week period, and then I slept with this my ex. But anyways, I was like, you know what, I prefer it to be you. So we were like, okay, we're just gonna figure it out. I think I found out when I was 3 weeks, and I felt when I was pregnant. Like when I got pregnant, within days I knew that I was pregnant. I just was ignoring it. And then when my period was supposed to come, I didn't get it. And I'm like, okay, one confirmation, you know, but I'm not taking that test. And then I started feeling a pressure in my stomach, and I'm like, okay, that is different. I don't know what that is. And then my boobs started turning. I was like, I know that I'm pregnant. So I went to him and I told him, then the test confirmed it. And he was just in shock, and I was happy because I wanted to get pregnant. I wanted a baby. And I wouldn't mind having a baby with him, just because we work well together, but there's things that we didn't address where he just kind of let it go. But anyways, after about 2.5 months, we were just talking about how we're going to do this, because he his situation isn't the best. I live with my family. Like, are we gonna move in? Are we gonna, like, what are we gonna do? And I was just kind of like, I don't really want to get married to you right now just because we're pregnant. Um, Also, while we were together, I never met his mom. And I met his mom after I got pregnant. So when he wanted me to meet his mom, I was like, I'm not doing that. You didn't want me to meet your mom the whole time, and now all of a sudden I'm pregnant.
And you want me to meet your mom.
Exactly. It makes me look bad as a woman. So we fought about that for a little bit. And then there was a point where we had to go to the cafe, and like I was probably 3 months pregnant at the time. We had to go to the cafe and just talk because I told him I didn't want anything to do with him because we started bickering a lot over like naming the baby and where we're gonna live and all these things. And at that time, I know that my sister and my mom was always in my ear. So they didn't find out until I was about 2.5 months pregnant. I told my sister in Walmart.
In where?
In Walmart.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't planned. So we went to Walmart because she was getting ready for her schooling, I believe her nursing program. And she was looking at shoes because for nursing, you need a certain type of shoes. So she was looking at shoes, and I was like, oh, okay. And we're there talking. And for some reason, I just felt the urge to be like, because I wanted to tell her, I just didn't know how. Anyways, we were talking about something. I think a pregnant woman walked by, and I said something. She's like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, yeah, because I am pregnant. And she's like,
what?
Yeah. She was like,
what did you say? Say it again?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And then she's like, for who? And I told her, and she got mad.
Oh,
like,
wow.
She physically got upset, and she picked up the shoes that she was thinking about buying, and she walked off. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, so
what am I supposed to do? Where do I go from here? What do I do now?
I expected it, but then she just kept walking. She went to the cash register. I think she actually needed my card to pay for it at the time because she couldn't find her card. So I had to pay for it, and then we walked to the car in silence. She had to wait for me. She walked faster than I did. Had to wait for me at the car. She was trying to process it. Like she was upset. I knew she was because she didn't like my ex at the time because she was just like, he doesn't even know what he has and he's wasting your time. Because in the whole relationship, it was a whole up and down where I didn't know where we were. We're doing all these things and you're not claiming me, so to speak. And I wanted to be claimed. But anyways, she didn't like that. So when she found out, she was very upset. We drove home, still very upset. She went straight.
Actually, watching out for you, like, I mean, because if the guy is not interested in claiming you, so why are you getting pregnant?
I should have listened.
Yeah,
I should have listened. Everything. It's funny because everything she was saying during our relationship, she was right. She was like, you deserve better, and I was like, I do, but he's here.
He's available. So.
Exactly. But that night she didn't talk to me. She went into her room. Her boyfriend lived with us at the time, so he and her were talking. And I wanted to tell my mom, and she told my mom in anger that night.
Oh, wow.
So I woke up, and it was basically my mom already knowing what happened. But then when I came out and I was talking to my mom, she was like, okay, well, I was like, well, I guess you already know. And she's like, yeah. But then after talking to her, she's like, I'm not upset. At first, when my sister told her, in the way that my sister told her, she was upset. And then later she started thinking about, she's like, you're grown. What are you talking about? Like, you're 28. What am I upset for? So then it started to shift where my mom was excited for this baby. My sister was still very much disappointed. And I say disappointed.
Like, how could she have done that to me?
Yeah, because to my sister, I'm still her little baby. So for me to get pregnant, that's never going to change. I'm a baby at heart. I don't care. I'm a baby at heart. I'm God's baby now. But then after a while, she started to act very different in my pregnancy where
she accepted the situation. Yeah,
she accepted it, but she didn't accept it at the same time. It's almost like any opportunity she had to jab me, she jabbed me. And I got I was very weak when I was pregnant. Like the first couple months, I can barely get out of bed. I was sleeping the whole day. I was eating okay, but I was always sleeping. Like I would sleep for 15 to 20 hours a day just because like I can't move around for too much. And when I did move around, I felt very weak. I felt dizzy. Like I couldn't stand to make food. I couldn't stand to do, laundry or do dishes or pack anything out or anything.
Physically anything at all.
Exactly. And then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm about to be a mom. Like, I can't be taking on other people's problems. If that's an issue, then, and then they started to say a lot of stuff in my ears, like, oh, well, if he's not going to da 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 and whatever. And then I got to a point where I was just kind of like, I can't have people speaking to me in regards to how I'm going to raise my child. So that's when I had the meeting with my child father at the time. And that's where we kind of decided that regardless of what happens, we're going to do what's best for the baby. It's not about us. Then it got to the point where living in my house became very stressful, where dealing with the way my sister was treating me, she was making it seem like I was faking a lot of the stuff or I was being extra. And the fact that we have cats and I can't do the litter, I can't do anything, I can't help with anything in the house. And I just started to feel like a burden. So I was just crying all the time. Most of my pregnancy, I was crying. Um, and eventually, my partner at the time, or ex partner, we kind of went back together. We decided to just come back together for the sake of the child, or at least try to do it. And I moved in with him because he was like, I don't want you stressed out at your house. I don't know if you're eating. I don't know if you're doing anything or stuff like that. So I lived with him for probably 6 months, maybe 9 months, including the after. But um, around 4 months, 5 months, I was like, I'm going to therapy because I can't raise a broken child. And I made that decision. Um, and I've already, I haven't been talking to the other guy, but I made that decision. I went to therapy. I found a therapist. I started going every week. And all that we were talking about in therapy was my sister and my partner and how I'm unsatisfied with my partner and my sister was just stressing me out. It was just a back and forth, back and forth. And then I went to do like when things started to go downhill was I've been looking for a doctor. I sent some numbers to my practitioner that I've had. She's in Toronto. And I was like, you need to call this place because they deal with high risk because I know I'm diabetic. I know I have my issues. And they're like, you have to go to a high risk place. So I was like, okay, cool. Found one. Sent it to her. She was like, oh, the one that she has on file is for St. Joe's. I'm like, yeah, St. Joe's is closest, but they don't deal with high risk pregnancies because I've already made those phone calls. She's like, okay, we'll send the requisitions. She sent the requisition to the wrong place. So I'm waiting for a month for my first prenatal appointment. Ooh. And I'm already 4.5 months, almost 5 months. I was 4 months actually. And they weren't responding to her. I'm like, I'm calling her and I'm like, I'm not getting anything. I'm calling the office. They're like, they don't have any appointments for me. So then I called her back and she's like, oh, they sent it back saying I have to send it to Hamilton Health and Science. And I'm like, this is what I told you to call to begin with. But she ended up calling and they were like, oh, they'll get in contact with me for an appointment. She books an appointment with me just in case their appointment isn't soon enough. Her appointment was on November 3rd. I remember these dates specifically. November 3rd at 1 o'clock. Then they called and said they had an appointment on November 3rd at 10 o'clock. So I was like, well, I'm not going to Toronto. So I went to that one. And I went into the doctor's office. Like I was waiting, and I have a slight headache at the back of my head. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I have high blood pressure. It's fine. So then I finally went in. They're like, oh, well, we're just gonna ask some questions and take your blood pressure. And they checked my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was 210 over 105. What? Yeah. 210 over 105. They're like, I think my machine is malfunctioning.
Like, that cannot be real. Like,
yeah, that's exactly the response. And he had a student with him at the time. So he was there and he's like, okay, let's try that again. And they checked my blood pressure 4 times and it was the same number or the same range. And they're just like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm fine. Because in my head, I've seen these numbers at home. I've seen 175 over 102. I've seen.
But did you know that was risky, or
it didn't register? I thought it was high, but it wasn't deadly.
Yeah.
So I just continued on in my life, and just kind of go back. I was dealing with a lot of health issues before, where I was having stomach issues, stomach pains. I felt like something was about to explode. I was having pain in my chest. At one point, they had to send me to do a colonoscopy because they didn't know what was happening. And I kept going to ER and they just sent me home with Tylenol. They're like, nothing's wrong with you. Your blood pressure is fine. And at that time, my blood pressure was fine. We're doing x-rays. We're doing echo scan or ECG scans or whatever. They're like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. And I'm like, everything is not fine. I'm sitting here and I'm telling you.
Everything is not fine.
Exactly. So
What?
it just got to the point where I went to the ER probably 3 or 4 times. And by the fourth time, they just kind of looked at me like I'm delusional. And I'm like,
Yeah.
if I was
I think it's in
delusional,
your head. Yeah. It should
no,
be
it's
your
in
head.
my foot. Like,
Yeah. Oh my god, that's so funny. Like I'm telling you something is wrong with me. You're telling me nothing is wrong with me, but I know my body and I know
exactly,
something is wrong with me.
exactly. And they're making it seem like it's a mental issue, and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
it's a biological issue.
Mhm.
So eventually, they randomly was just like, you know what? Let's just humor ourselves, and they
Mhm.
sent me for a specific test, and the test came back positive. So they
You
found out,
see?
right? They found out that my adrenal glands weren't doing what they were supposed to do.
Wow.
Instead of my body releasing the sodium like it would in your
Mhm.
urine, it was releasing my potassium, and that's
Oh
why I was always
wow.
weak and I was
Mhm.
having pain and muscle pain and all kind of
At this
things.
time, you're still pregnant.
No, this was 2 years
Okay,
before.
before. Okay.
They didn't mention my high blood pressure as a
Mhm.
symptom because it wasn't high at the time.
Mhm.
But anyways, they're like, well, you're just gonna have to take medication for the rest of your life. And me being as stubborn as
Mhm.
I was like, that is not happening.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna take some herbs and I'm gonna be fine. Was doing that, seemed okay. And then all of a sudden, my blood pressure just went.
Mhm.
I remember I went to Toronto. They took my blood pressure. It's like, you need to go to the ER. I'm like, I'm not going to no ER because if I go to the ER, they're gonna give me some Tylenol and send me home.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to when I was pregnant. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them like, this is my normal. What are you talking
Yeah.
about? And they're like, this is your normal. And I'm like, yeah. And the look on their face
Like
made me
this lady
realize
is
something was
crazy. Yeah.
wrong.
Like how can this be normal? Like, are you crazy? This is very dangerous.
Exactly. And he's just like, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I just have a slight headache. He's like, a slight headache? And I'm like, yeah. And he was just like, your blood pressure is making me wonder why you're still alive right now. Most people who's around this, they're not able to move, they're not able to speak, like their body's shutting down. And I'm like, I'm fine though. And he's like, yeah, but you're not. So he's like, we're
You
gonna
think you're fine, but you're not fine.
right? And he's like, well, we're gonna have to
Are you
admit
still
you.
pregnant?
I'm pregnant at this time. And it was only because I was pregnant they took me seriously. So that day they were like, well, we're gonna have to admit you. And I'm like, I have to go to work. And he's like, no, you don't.
Like, what is wrong with this lady? Like the saying is a miracle you're alive and you're thinking about going to work.
Well, yeah, when you're in that state, you're just kind of like, I have bills to pay. If I don't go to work, I can't put food on the table. And I was already dealing with so much. I had to miss work so much because I was already pregnant, and no one in my office knew I was pregnant.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so they just thought I was sick. So I told them I was going to an appointment, a specialist appointment. So when I called them, I was like, yeah, they admitted me to the hospital, so I'm not coming back today. And they're like, so when are you coming back? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll have to let you know. I then got transferred to the ICU where they were just like, we're going to have to start making some cocktails because your blood pressure is too high. They started me on 4 medications.
While you were still pregnant?
Yeah. And the struggle was the medication that works for the hyperaldosteronism, which is what I have with my adrenal gland, can't be taken when you're pregnant.
So didn't they know that? So why did they give that to you while you were pregnant?
They had to figure out they had to get 3 other specialists to come in just so that they know what medication to give me because the one that I needed I couldn't take. Okay. So they're like, okay, you know what? You can't take spironolactone. You can't take the other one with a C. So we're gonna have to see how we can get your blood pressure down without having issues. And they had to also talk to the baby doctor to make sure that whatever they're giving me was safe. I had about 4 people in the room talking to me, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't even know what's happening right now because I just came to make sure that my baby's okay, and now you're telling me that I'm not okay, and all you guys are in my face telling me stuff. And I'm diabetic, so they also had to bring the endocrinologist.
Oh my god! Like,
so they started me off with 4 medications, and they were just kind of like, we're gonna have to kind of watch what you eat because of your sugar. So they had to do an IV. I had to have an IV in this hand. I had to have a like saline or whatever in this hand, and the insulin in this hand, or the sugar water in this hand mixed with insulin. I was in that room for 7 days, so 7 days, and they were just switching medications. They're like, okay, we're gonna give you this one. It wasn't coming down. They're like, we're gonna increase the dose.
Were they checking to make sure the baby was okay?
They weren't checking the baby. They were checking.
They were not checking the baby?
No. The whole time they're just like, we need to, like, these medications are classified to be safe for the baby, but we need to make sure your blood pressure comes down quick. And while I'm there, I'm asking them to check on the baby.
Yeah, like,
Because I'm like, if I'm in such a high pressure environment,
how's the baby doing?
Exactly. So the first day they checked the baby, they didn't check the baby again for another 7 or 8 days. This is after
What?
medication, yeah. This is after medication. And they got me on one medication, they maxed that out. It wasn't working. They had me because they had me on 4 to start. So I started on maybe like 100, then they increased it to 200, then they increased it to 300.
They're increasing all that while you were pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah. And it got to the point where they're increasing my dosage so much that they're like, we can't give you any more of this one, so we now have to add another one into it. So in the hospital, like,
sorry, I'm a little confused. Did they say that the medication they were giving you was okay for the baby?
Yeah.
They said it was okay for the baby.
They said it was okay for the baby, and I was not taking those medications easily. Because again, I already know that medications have side effects. So when they started with the medication, I'm like, what does this do? And how does it affect the baby? Is it affecting the baby? Is it going to cause any issues for the baby? They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I'm like, what's the long-term side effect? They're like, well, there's none on record to say that there's a side effect. And I'm like, I don't feel comfortable taking this. Like, and then they're like, yeah, they started me on insulin in that hospital because I wasn't taking insulin for my diabetes before. And I fought. I was like, I'm not taking insulin. I'm not doing this. They're like, well, it's either you take this or, you're not going to be able to actually see your baby because, again, you would die if you keep with the blood pressure like this. They started to give me, I think they started me on 4 medications, and then they just kept increasing it. But over time, they weren't checking the baby as much as they should have. So I was telling them like, hey, I need you guys to do an ultrasound on the baby. Oh, the baby's fine. I need you guys to do an ultrasound.
How do you know the baby is fine without doing enough?
Exactly. And then eventually they were like, okay, well, your blood pressure is now coming down after I've been on at least 40 pills a day. That was my regimen. I was on 40 pills. Yeah.
Did you say
40
like
pills?
40?
Yeah, 40 pills a day because I had to take multiple pills 4 times a day. And then
how would that not affect the baby?
That's what I was saying. So they transferred me from the ICU into another department, and the nurses there they were nice, they were fine, but every time they're like, oh, the doctor said we need to do this, the doctor said we need to do this, and I'm like, I need you guys to check the baby because I'm not leaving this hospital. You guys are giving me so many medication, you have me on insulin, you're giving me sugar, you have IVs, you have all these things. I'm not sleeping.
Nobody be checking out.
They're not checking the baby.
What is doing?
And I was just kind of like, you guys are really upsetting me now because my sister wasn't there, my mom wasn't there, and I'm sitting there and I'm in and out of sleep because I'm not sleeping. I'm taking these medications. Mind you, my body's not used to medication, so I'm also struggling with that. And eventually, after everything, they were just like, oh, well, your blood pressure is coming down. We're going to remove this one and see how it works. Because their job is to just bring it back down to a normal level. Then they started to pull things back, and then it was like, okay, that's fine. Then they're like, oh, your blood work show your potassium's low. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's low because of my hyperaldosteronism. But anyways, they were like, well, everything's normal now after being in the hospital for 14 days. 14 days. 14 days. They were like, oh, you can go home.
At this time, how many times did they check the baby?
Twice.
In 14 days?
Yeah.
With you taking 14 medications a day?
Yeah. And I was just kind of like, well, they were like, oh, your blood pressure is now down, your blood sugar is good. My sister and my mom was bringing me food. I told them to bring me coconut water for the potassiums. They wanted to add potassium pills to that regimen. And I'm like, that's not happening. I had to fight my doctor for that, but I was like, I'm not doing that. Then the blood work came back and proved what I was telling them because I don't know my body. But anyways, they were like, oh, well, you can go home now. And I'm like, what do you mean I can go home? I'm sitting here. I've been in here for the last 10 days. You guys haven't checked the baby. So what's happening? They're like, oh, well, we'll send someone to check it out. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll wait. I waited for half a day. And then I called my nurse. I'm like, so what's happening with the ultrasound? They're like, oh, they'll send someone down. I'm like, okay, you need to message them right now because I'm not leaving until you guys check my baby.
All this time, were you feeling the baby moving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She started moving maybe about a couple of days after. Like I wasn't able to feel her as much, but then she started to kind of move a little bit. And then I believe it was maybe half a day after, I just kept calling. I was like, you guys need to bring some. They brought a Doppler to check my child to make sure that her heart was beating. A Doppler. So it's just something that they put that has a speaker that you can hear the baby's heartbeat. The problem with that is that you don't know if you're fully hearing the baby's heartbeat or if you're hearing the placenta's beat, because both of them have a different rhythm.
Okay.
And the person who came, I'm like, I thought you guys would bring in an ultrasound. She's like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm not leaving until you bring an
It almost
ultrasound.
seems like they didn't want the baby to survive. Like,
They're like, you're the prime. Because I even asked them, I'm like, are these medications okay for my child? They were like, oh, they're safe for the child. I'm like, how have you been in a situation like this? They're like, we've done this. And I'm like, you said it yourself that my situation is different. I was not a very nice person in the hospital. You can only imagine.
Mother, you need to make sure that your baby is okay. It's not enough for me to be okay. I also need
we're here because of the baby.
I don't know. Maybe they tried to save you. I don't know.
Probably. I have no idea.
I mean, probably think, okay, you can always have another baby, but if you die, you can't have.
Right.
So, sometimes in situations like that, it's almost difficult to, choose one
over the other.
Yeah. So maybe they thought, okay, you know what? Let's save her life first, and then
go from there.
Yeah, from there she can always have another baby. I'm thinking, I don't know.
I feel so too, actually. Yeah. But eventually, I complained and I complained and I complained until they sent an ultrasound person and I saw my baby was fine. And then they're like, you can go home. So I went home and I went from the hospital to my house, and then I was like, I'm just gonna go back to my ex's house. I don't have to worry about anything. They're like, don't stress, don't do anything. You need to be bedridden, basically. So I lived with him, and at that time I think was like November. So it was around November 3rd to 14 days would be like the 17th. Came out of the hospital. I was there fine. They're like, you have to go and do some ultrasound. So I was like, okay, cool. When I went and did my ultrasound, they couldn't. It was a last ultrasound, and they couldn't see everything because the baby was just moving so much. Like, she was just moving all over the place, and she wasn't in the position to see the spleen and the heart and all these things. So they're like, come back. When I did a second ultrasound, they're like, oh, it's the same problem. We can't really see anything. I'm like, okay. At one point they had me up, almost upside down trying to get the ultrasound because like the bed can be shifted. So they lift up the foot, and like my head was down, and they're just trying to get the gravity to move the baby. And she was refusing to be seen. She was like, went to the third one, and I was just like, okay, we got to figure out what's happening now. So I'm there. The ultrasound was supposed to take 30 minutes. It took an hour. And then my appointment, like I got there at 9, my appointment was at 9:30, took an hour, left at 10:30. And right after that appointment, I was supposed to see my pregnancy doctor, the specialist that I see. And I went upstairs, and it was probably almost 11. I didn't see the doctor until 3 o'clock.
Why?
Yeah.
You had an appointment.
Exactly. And they're like, well, you were supposed to be here 15 minutes before your appointment. And because the ultrasound took too long, it kind of pushed into the appointment that we had for other people. So they had me waiting there. They had me waiting in the waiting room for about 2 hours, maybe 2.5. And then they brought me into the room, and they had me waiting in there for another 2.5 hours. And I'm like, why are you guys having me sitting here for no reason? So I'm sitting there, and I at this point, I didn't know who God was. Like, I didn't have a relationship with God. But I was just there, and I'm just like, God, what's going on? Like, what's happening right now? And then
you reached out to God even when you didn't have a relationship with him.
I didn't even know what I was doing at the time.
Yeah.
But the doctor comes in. He was like, oh, okay, he's checking the ultrasound. And then he was saying how, looking at the ultrasound, it's looking like for the size of me, my baby should have been a lot bigger than it is right now. And he was saying that it just kind of seems like her heart rhythm's a little off. And they're assuming, like, based off of the ultrasound, that I have what they call IFR, which is intra-growth fetal restriction or something like that.
So the baby is not developing as much as she should.
Yeah. Okay. So they then sent me to do another ultrasound to confirm, and it did confirm that's what it is. They saw that the placenta was also damaged due to the high blood pressure. So they were just like, because
I wonder if the medications also played a part.
That's what I was thinking,
that's like
too.
40 medications every day.
It was 5 or 6 medications, and it's just multiple medication different times a day. And I left the hospital with 40 medications to take a day with insulin.
No way that would have Wouldn't have
It would have,
affected the
yeah.
baby anyhow. Like,
But they're also saying that the blood pressure was so high that it damaged the vessels in the placenta.
oh, okay.
So because the
All that
placenta wasn't
played a
working,
role in.
yeah, it wasn't doing what it needed to do, so she wasn't getting the nutrients that she needed. And they were like, we need to, and this was in December, so it was around Christmas time. My ultrasound was on the 18th, so that's when they told me this. They're like, okay, we're gonna set you up for another ultrasound, and then we're gonna have you come in to do some monitoring. I got an ultrasound somewhere in between, I think close to my sister's birthday. No, they called me back in on my sister's birthday. That's when I got the news. Then they're like, we need you to come back in to do a monitoring where they wrap stuff around your stomach to monitor the baby for a certain amount of time. That happened on Christmas Day. So my Christmas Day was not in a space where, you should be. And then when they were there, the Neil, whatever, the baby doctor came in and was like, based off of the readings, you can see where her heart rate goes up and it drops, and then it goes up and then it drops. It's not.
That's the baby's heart rate.
Yeah. Okay. So it would her heart rate would go from like normal range. I think they said was like 140 something to 150 something. Her rate would be like 135, and all of a sudden it would go up to like 160, and then it come back down to like 140, and it would stay there for a little bit, and it goes back up. So you can see that there's something happening there. And they came in and they were like, we need to know if you do give birth and she's still alive, or if she loses her, like her heart's not beating anymore.
At this point, how long was the pregnancy? Was it like 5 months, 6 months?
I was 26 weeks.
Okay.
So that's about 6 months, 6 months and some change. And like I recently started feeling her like more predominantly, because when you first feel her, you don't think you're feeling anything, but then when you actually start to feel her kicking to the point that your hand can feel her. I only had a couple weeks of that, but after they came in, they're like, do you want us to resuscitate her? And then my spirit was just saying no.
What do you mean resuscitate her?
So it's like I'll give birth to her because she's struggling right now.
Oh,
so they're like, you're gonna have to induce you and get her out. Their thing was they told me I have options, so I can either get her out now, I can wait, or I can just see kind of what happens and schedule an induction. My partner's mother is a doctor, so but when they told us about that, I went home and I talked to him. We sat down and talked to her, showed her all the records, and she was just kind of like, based off of the results, I would believe what your doctor is telling you. So I was just kind of like, you know what, let's just induce it. Let's see if we can save her if we can, but if we can't, that's fine. And that was on Christmas Day. I called on Boxing Day and I was like, okay, I want to schedule the induction. They scheduled the induction on New Year's Eve. I was like, okay, cool. I have 3 days. And that 3 days, I was just weeping. I was bawling. I was barely eating. Me and he was just there trying to console me because he's also grieving because he's just found out about.
He's the father of a baby.
Exactly. And he was like, I feel like I'm having a boy. So he was ready. Aww. I felt like I was having a girl. But yeah, I was weeping. I didn't get out of bed for the first day or two. And then I started stressing and I'm like, how am I going to get this baby out? I don't want to go through labor. I don't want to do all of this and not have a baby to show for, and all these things. We ended up scheduling the induction on the 31st. On the night of the 30th, my baby was kicking like crazy.
She was struggling.
She was kicking like crazy, and I'm sitting there, and I just felt bad to know I couldn't do anything to help her. But I felt that I needed to say goodbye to her in that moment. And before I went to bed, I was just talking to her and telling her how much I love her, even though I don't know her, but I know her. And I felt when she stopped kicking, I couldn't sleep that night because I was worried about how I'm going to do this induction, because I'm just like, okay, can they teleport the baby out? I don't want to do this. And we went in to do the induction at 12 o'clock on New Year's Eve. It was a different experience. And my partner was there with me, and I was there, and the contractions came, and then they had to do another pill which increases the contractions. And I was in labor for 12 to 14 hours.
Wow.
And yeah, I was in and out of, like, because of my blood pressure started to spike with everything that was happening. And then I started, like, going in and out of consciousness just because it's just so much pain. My blood pressure is already all over the place, and the doctors started to get worried. They're just kind of like, "Do you normally pass out like this?" And I'm like, "No, but when I'm in pain, well, it happens because I'm in pain. Like, how am I supposed to deal with it?" And around midnight, so that was New Year's, my partner had to leave because he had to take his mom to go to the New Year ceremony or whatever. And shortly after he left, she started to come out. And I was passed out, and then all of a sudden I just felt the pressure, and I had to call the nurse, and they had to call him. And I just remembered her coming out completely lifeless. Her body was so underdeveloped. She was so tiny. It's nothing like I was expecting. Like, I was expecting at least a fully grown child. She came out with her sac and everything intact. They had to cut the sac, they had to pop the sac, and water didn't break out. Water was still in there and everything. And I saw when she came out, and her body was just limp. And I just started to cry. Yeah, they gave me her, and they were just kind of like, "She's not fully developed, but it looks like she's a girl." And I'm like, she does look like a girl. And it's interesting because while I was pregnant, I had two dreams. The first one was me basically being it almost seemed like a school. So it was me being in a school hallway, and it's a bunch of people in the hallway, and we're all just there like we're waiting for something. And these doors are opening and they're closing right after the person walks in, but it just has like a red light inside. As I'm approaching the door, I'm realizing whoever is operating the door is not human. So they almost look like monster humanoid looking things. And we're going in. My turn eventually comes, and you can see that as people go up to the stage, because it's a huge auditorium filled with monsters. It's not people. It's filled with a bunch of monsters. Some of them are red, brown, whatever. But as people go up to the stage, they're turning into these things. And there's one. I don't know if you've ever seen Hobbit. There's a dragon in there. And the thing on the stage that are turning these people has the makeup of a dragon, and he's sitting on his 2 feet, and he touches these people, and then smoke, and they basically walk off.
And then they turn to whatever it is.
Yeah, and they're excited. They're doing all these things, and it was just interesting because as I'm walking up to the stage, I'm not scared. If anything, I'm more excited because I'm seeing this. I'm like, oh my god, and it was my turn, and I went up, and he did this, and nothing happened. And he did it again, and nothing happened. And then he touched me, and nothing happened. And and he's looking at everybody like, what is going on here? So then he picks me up.
Where's someone walking?
Exactly. So he picks me up like this, like a little thing, just like this, and he was looking up into me, and he's like, "There's something in this one. I can't turn her." And I'm there, and I'm literally upset at the fact that I can't be turned.
Not knowing that God was actually
literally.
Oh my god!
And they were just like, "Nah, everybody got to come here because we have to turn this one." And no matter what they did, they were just like, "There was something in this one that we cannot turn her." And I just remembered that whatever it was picked me up and did this with its big hand. Just a little hole was in its hand. And went straight to my eye. And the moment his hand went to my eye, I woke up. And I started to cry when I woke up because I'm just like, what just happened?
Were you still pregnant?
I was still pregnant at the time. And then the second dream I had was basically just telling me to name because I didn't know what I was having, to name my child Emmanuel or Amelia. If it's a boy, it's Emmanuel. If it's a girl, it's Amelia. And then when I found out it's a girl, I named her Amelia. But after all of that, I was in the hospital for 4 days. I don't think my sister or my mom was able to come and see me after giving birth, but I was just sobbing. Like when they put her on my chest, I just started crying. And just seeing how her stomach was like gelatin because it wasn't fully formed. Like her body and like the parts are created, but it wasn't formed. It was literally gelatin. and it just broke me. Like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how I was supposed to be. And then my partner at the time wasn't doing what I wanted him to do, so I started to get angry at him. Then when they transferred me to my own room,
Oh, did he see? Did you see the baby?
he saw the baby.
Okay.
And then they transferred me into my own room, and I was in there by myself for a while. They had insulin and they had my IV plugged in. And after 2 days, I had the sweetest nurse. Like, she reminds me so much of my mother. And then nobody told me that after having a baby, your boobs are going to swell up and they're going to get hard and they're going to hurt. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I just had a baby and now I have breast cancer. What's happening? And the nurse came and
Like,
she's
what's
like,
happening to my breast?
literally, and I'm like, they're not moving, like they're not, you know, and I'm like, they just hurt. They have lumps all over the place. What's happening? You know, and the nurse came in and she's like, "Are you okay?" Because I'm sobbing hysterically because I'm like, "Well, I just lost my baby, literally." And she's just like, "No, that's normal. You know, I'll get you some ice." So she went and got me some ice, and she told me to put it on my boobs so that it can help with the swelling. She was the sweetest nurse ever. And basically after that, I went home. Excuse me, and I was with my sister and my mom, and I tried to, you know, after losing her, it was just very hard to do it at home. So I basically ran back to my ex because he was never at home. He was always at work, and when he comes home, he's doing things. So I'm like, at least I have my own space.
Yeah.
My sister and my mom didn't know what to do with me because I'll be in the living room and then all of a sudden I'll be in the bedroom and I'm just bawling my eyes out. I'll be sitting there and I'm bawling my eyes out, and we've never experienced anything like this before. So they're just trying to do what they can. And then I stayed with him for a little bit, and I was just weeping the same way. And it's almost like I started to go back into my sexual ways to heal myself. And then I started to feel so empty. But after that, probably like 3 months after I lost my daughter, my sister told me she was pregnant. Mind you,
The same sister that was angry with you for
yes.
Okay.
And it's funny because she was saying certain things earlier of like, oh, her boobs hurt, oh, something feels weird, and I'm like, okay.
I know that experience. Yeah, I've walked down that road.
So I didn't say nothing, and then eventually I was just like, we can go get some tests. So we went and got some tests. Found out that she's pregnant. Around the same time of my due date.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, because I also thinking about, I already got a crib, I got baby clothes, I got all these things, and now I have no baby. And then my sister was like, oh, she's pregnant. I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
But
So
at this, you know, just give it to her. But at the same time, there was something in me that I was so angry though. I was so angry at the fact that why is my sister now having a baby and I just lost mine? How is that fair? After she was so mean to me. And then instinctively I was basically like, oh, I'm not going to treat her. I'm going to treat her the same way that she treated me. But the way that God created me, I can't do that. I can't inflict pain on people. I can't ill treat people.
No matter how much they did that to you. So.
Exactly. And during those times, like, I would leave the house to go for my therapy sessions and just be complaining about the fact that my sister now has her baby and I don't. And then now thinking back, like, I had to switch my therapist because she was now graduating because she was like a student therapist. So it was cheaper, could have afforded it. Now she's a full-fledged therapist. I couldn't afford her anymore. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to end my sessions with you. But then my doctor at the time, whenever I came in for my medical appointment, she was like, I'm worried about you. Sweetest. I love her so much. I have to call her soon, but she helped me with a lot.
It seems God placed certain people in your life to help you deal with whatever it is you were dealing with at the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because the first therapist was very like novice. It was like, oh well, we're both new. Let's get into this, and
let's
then
figure it out together.
Exactly. And then the doctor.
And you needed much more than figuring it out together.
Oh yeah. She didn't really know what to do with me at that point. So my doctor is now, well, you know, McMaster's doing a study, and they have psychotherapists that you can have free sessions for a year.
Oh wow.
So I'm like,
she don't even have to pay for it.
Literally. And I'm like, that's not ironic. But then I started to realize, like, in my life, that's just how stuff has been working. Where something would happen, a door closes, another one opens. You know, you start not liking your job, you decide to quit, another one comes up. So it just kind of always aligned. And I wasn't really worried about that, but I ended up meeting this psychotherapist, and she from the get-go was just, she was not sweet in that sense. She was just straight to the point. How are we going to fix this problem? This is what I'm seeing. And she was the one that basically got me out of the trenches that I was in. And then because I was in therapy, my sister was also in therapy, because I started to learn stuff about myself, which then forced her to readjust the way she dealt with things. And then when my sister was ready to give birth now, throughout her whole pregnancy, I was like her partner. I made sure that she ate all the stuff that I didn't have. I made sure that she had it. There was one point where I was like, okay, you're not the only person struggling. Mind you, after I had my child, so I'm just going back, after I had my child, the hospital was like, well, we're not dealing with her remains, so you have to figure out where, you have to figure out where.
They gave you the baby to figure, like, just like that?
They basically said that if it's before 22 weeks, they would take care of the cremation, so you don't have to do anything. But after 22 weeks of gestational age, you have to make arrangements for the baby's remains. So they wouldn't give the baby to you, but they're like, you have a certain deadline that you have to get this remains out. So not only was I grieving, but I had to make phone calls upon phone calls upon phone calls to re-explain what I just went through to different funeral homes, to be told, well, it's going to be $1,500. It's gonna be $900. It's gonna be $300, $3,000. The cheapest one that I heard was $900, and I'm like, this is a baby. She can't even fit in my hand.
How am I paying so much for?
So I called one place, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for this. And they're like, oh, we have a sister church that is connected to a funeral home that does these type of services for free.
For free?
For free. So they're like stillbirths or late miscarriages or baby that's born and then dies. They do the whole funeral stuff for the mom for free. You just have to pay the fee, and the fee was like $60.
No, I need to sit well. Like, it was literally free.
It was free.
And this is something that someone was telling you to pay
thousands,
$1,500, $900, and things like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And exactly. And that's what I said. And I was just like, literally, the person took care of everything. You called, you explained, you give them you just filled out a form, and they basically contacted the hospital and did everything.
And they dealt with it themselves without having to involve you.
And when I went to pick up, they call and say, hey, the ashes are ready. And they had like a ceremony and everything. You came and pick up the ashes. You had your moment to say your prayer and do whatever you need to do.
You didn't have to pay anything.
It was $60. And that was just
that's nothing compared to...
That's just the admin fee and stuff compared to what they were charging. That's not even a tenth of what they were charging. So, I was more than happy to deal with that. At the time, I also wasn't working, but God was still providing, because I went on EI and they were paying me enough to pay all of my bills. So I was still able to keep my car and pay rent and buy food. But after my sister got pregnant and I was helping her with all of these things, I felt like there was a nudge in my spirit telling me, you didn't go through this for nothing.
Yeah.
Look at what you're doing for your sister. She needs you. And I realized that it wasn't just her that was going through it. My partner at the time, his brother and his wife, they also were pregnant. So they had their child a month before my sister's, and they were also struggling the same way. So basically, I just felt like, okay, I have to start this business.
So you had the middle of everything, and you went through your grief, and then you have two different people pregnant going through the same thing, and then you were helping.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and at the same time, God made sure that I bumped into somebody to then get connected with somebody who was running a program to start a business. Now I'm here thinking about starting a business. I go into this program and now my business is born. And I wanted to...
God literally turned your pain into gain.
Exactly. And I know that this business came from him, because initially I was like, I'll do massages and I'll go and bring chefs in and do all these fancy things. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and God was just kind of like, I didn't know it was God at the time, but all I heard was, you need to cook, you need to clean, and you need to support, nothing else. Throw a massage out. And I'm like, but
Wow.
massage is where the money's coming in. What do you mean? But very clear as day. So I decided to go forward with that, and that's what my company Novel Bloom does. We come into homes and we cook and we clean and we have companion support for moms after birth or after grieving. And now my sister has her baby, and it's the way that this child has changed our life, because of her birth, is why we went to God.
You went back to God because of your
Yes.
sister's baby.
Yes. Because we were
Wow.
we were like, we cannot be of this world and raise a child. We have to be godly women, and we can't fake it this time. Even then, we went and got baptized. The church that we went to, we were new Christians. We didn't know that there were different denominations and different beliefs. I didn't know that you can believe in God and not believe in God in the same time. So we had an experience with a church that led us to leave them, and then we went into another church. And everything so far, you really just see how His hand is in everything. Like, His hand is in every single thing in our life. And there's moments where I look at my niece and I have moments of like, oh, I wish Amelia was here, and oh, why couldn't I have my child? But then I realized that I couldn't be who I needed to be for my sister if I had a child.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be who I needed to be for my niece if I also had a child. So I've come to the realization that everything that happened, my daughter saved my life. She didn't just come here to bring pain. Like, she came here to build me up in ways I couldn't build myself up. She saved my life medically and emotionally and spiritually. So I know that if we are to meet again, I would know. If God
almost
deems
like
me,
she has changed her life for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, if I may ask, how did you deal with the pain and with the trauma and all that? How did you deal with it? How did you cope with it? And how did you survive that?
Before I got pregnant, I dealt with the trauma through smoking weed. I used to smoke weed pretty heavily just to kind of numb the pain and just kind of zone out so my brain doesn't have to sit on the pain. And then after losing her,
were you taking all those things when you were still pregnant?
When I was pregnant, no.
Oh, okay, just making sure.
I had to stop. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was like, I'm not smoking anymore.
Yeah.
But then after I lost her, I went back to smoking.
Just to cope.
Yeah, just to cope. And almost just to silence my brain, because I just kept going back on what she could have been like, what life would have been like, how I would have been, what she would have looked like. It was just a bunch of what ifs. And it's weird because, in a sense, my sister getting pregnant also kind of helped me in the grieving process, as painful as it was. Because when you're around somebody who needs you more than you need yourself, you forget about what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not an accident. She got pregnant right after.
Yeah.
And I was able to somewhat heal not only myself, but the relationship between me and my sister in my sister's pregnancy.
Wow.
Yeah, because she now got into the same space that I was in when she wasn't doing what she needed to do.
Yeah.
And I was now showing her what I wanted her to do.
You were there before, so you had experience. And
exactly. And when she was having moments where she was panicking, I'm like, that's normal.
Oh my goodness. Now talking like an experienced.
I'm like, that's normal. It's okay. It's okay for you to feel that way. So the experience I gained definitely made her experience a lot better. And I found that our relationship got 10 times stronger in her pregnancy. Wow. So much so that I cried because I couldn't be in the delivery room and she gave birth to my baby. I cried because her dad wanted to go, and they're like, well, because she had a C-section, they only had one person that was in there, and I thought she was going to pick me because, it's me. But her dad was there, and I was offended that she picked him. I left the hospital, and I was so mad. I went home, and the moment I saw my mom, I just started to bawl. And the funniest thing is that after I started crying, and I kept crying, and then she called, And she sent a message to my mom showing us Bubba as she was born. Well, the baby dad sent. She was obviously on the table, so she couldn't do it. But he sent the picture, and I started crying because I was still hurt, but I was so happy at the fact that she's here and she's so cute, and I'm there crying, but I'm laughing, and my mom's looking at me like, "Are you okay?" And I was still upset, but at the same time, I was still so overjoyed. So I just like pulled on my clothes and I ran to the hospital. And from the moment I saw Baba, oh, it almost felt like she was mine.
Yeah.
And even now,
okay, you're not gonna make me cry. No, you're not gonna make me cry. You're not gonna make me cry. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and even up to this day, the way that the relationship that I have with Baba, she literally feels like she's mine. Like,
but she's yours.
Oh yeah, she is. I can soothe her when her mom can't. I put her to sleep when her mom can't. I can feed her when her mom can't. Like when I come home, just her, aunt. Oh, it's so cute. And there's times I do think it would have been so nice for her and Amelia to be together, but I'm like, in God's time.
Yeah, you have another one.
In God's time. So, but I'm so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful for the pain that I went through, because I don't think I would have been able to be the person I am today without going through that and really understanding that God is always there. Like, sometimes we feel like He's not, or we feel like we're dealing with stuff that He's turned His back on us. But the fact
it feels distant. It feels like He's gone on a break, holiday or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. But He's there always.
And after that, like even with Bubba being born, I've been struggling with my relationship with Christ, and there was a point where I feel like I was living a double life. Just because like my sister and my mom was on fire for God, and I'm there and I'm struggling with my addiction of smoking, and I stopped smoking, and then I stopped smoking weed, and I went to smoking cigarettes. And then my sister's saying, cigarettes is bad for you. And I'm there like, cigarettes are bad for you, but then I'm still smoking cigarettes. And then I started like running to my ex's house, and every chance I got, I was running to his house. I fell a few times. I slept with him, and I came back and I repented, and it was a whole roller coaster, and that's why the weekend that I decided to, don't even know this. So the weekend we went up to the thing where I initially met you to be here today. I was actually planning to go against God in a sense, because I knew I wasn't supposed to be doing this, and I was making plans to spend time with somebody that is not of God, that I know is very lustful, and I know it probably would have led to us sleeping together. And I'm like, my spirit's like, don't do it, and my flesh was like, just do it. And I was smoking, and I was like, okay, I gotta stop smoking, but then I'm still smoking. I gotta stop smoking, then I'll still smoke. I went to this event making up the decision that I can't do this myself. And no matter how much I go with my sister and pray and all these things, I feel so shallow. I feel like I'm faking it. I feel like God doesn't love me because I'm not doing what He needs me to do, and I'm lying to Him knowing that He knows. So I went to this event, and I was just like, I am not going to continue doing this. I started to get disgusted with myself. I'm like, how are you going to go to God and pray to God like you're the perfect child knowing that you're sinning? How are you going to do that? So then after I went to the event, I was like, nope, I am not leaving here as the same person. I refuse. This is the catalyst that I need to change my life right now, because I can't do it on my own. I'm sitting here thinking, I can stop whenever I want. I can walk away whenever I want.
Who are you kidding?
Girl. So when everything took place this weekend, like when you came up to me and you were saying that this was ordained by God, and no matter what I wanted to do wasn't going to happen because this was going to happen, you don't even understand how hard that hit. You don't even understand how hard.
I didn't even know what I was saying. I just felt led to go say that to you, and well, now I know it's God, but at the time I just.
God has turned my life upside down for the better. And someone's asked me before, because of the way that I speak about my daughter, and they're just like, if you can go back, would you change it? I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of ties back to a part in the Bible where God revealed to me today, where I was reading Genesis, where He was saying how women would go through pain of childbirth, and it made me realize that God doesn't put us through pain for no reason. There's growth that comes with the pain. And normally when you went through the pain and you're on the other side, you're never the same person. So that just kind of really tied into even what I went through and everything.
God is very intentional with whatever He allows you to go through, even though He doesn't cause the pain. But if He does allow you to go through it, it's because it's going to be used in the future, either for someone or for something. He doesn't just, just allow that to happen for allowing sake. No, and look at you now with all the pain you went through. You just started a business out of it. You helped your sister, still helping your sister. Your sister-in-law, all that. Look at you have come out a much better person. It has changed you. I don't know if you would have been who you are now if you hadn't gone through that.
I know I wouldn't. I would still be insane. I would still be running around. And I've also realized that the child that He sent for me was to stop me from being with the person that I was with before. So when Max happened and we broke up, He was pulling me away from God. And I know this because of the stuff He was trying to teach me. And I was telling my sister the other day, I was just kind of like, He knew the only way to stop that was with a child. Just because He knows how stubborn I am. But I have values with certain things that I wouldn't cross. If I'm with somebody, I'm not going to go with somebody else. He was like, yep, child, that's cut, that's severed. And then he was like, okay, saved her life. We don't have to do that anymore. And he's like, go through that pain because you need to learn. And yeah, I would have not been the same person if I did not go through that.
So, with everything you have experienced, what would you say it's one thing you take away from it? Looking back now.
Looking back, I would say remember that God is very intentional with creating who you are, from the color of your eyes down to the size of your feet. And you shouldn't feel that He's ever walked away from you because you still have breath. So in moments of struggles and moments of pain, you should remember why you're still living, and remember that you have purpose, and that anything that you're going through now is gonna make you stronger for the next. Because you're always gonna go through stuff. It's never gonna stop, right? Yeah.
As long as you're in this world, you're gonna go through stuff.
Exactly. And whatever you're learning in this season is to make sure you are capable and equipped to deal with what comes in the next. So that's what I would tell anybody that's going through some things, or hard season in their life is.
And if you were to find someone today who is going through exact thing you went through, the sins, then the baby, then all that, and the person is saying, you know what, I don't know what to do. Maybe it's the health issue, maybe it's the baby, maybe it's the whatever it is, all that you went through that it looked like you were not going to survive it, but here you are today. And if you find someone who is currently going through similar thing and they're struggling with it and they're so sure that they're not going to make it, what would you say to that person right now?
This too shall pass. I feel that when we're in situations, we tend to think it's bigger than it actually is. And I would say to submit it to God. Take it to God. Every worry you have, every complaint you have, take it to God and tell Him how you feel. Tell Him how sad you are, how angry you are, how worried you are, how happy you are if you are. Whatever it is that you're dealing with. If you feel like He's far from you, still go to Him. If you feel that He's turned His back from you, still go to Him, because He will always surprise you. Because again, we don't know, we can't put God in a box. So you might think that you're not worthy, and he's sitting there like, you are. You are more than worthy. So yeah, I would say take everything to God and have him deal with it, and just watch him work.
Oh, what a way to end. Thank you so much for
Thank you
being
for
here.
having